sorry about it.
First world problems.
It's really is. Well, I need coffee, and I can't make my own coffee.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, friends. Thanks for your patience as we had those technical difficulties. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst, and we welcome you to this live-streamed service coming to you on Sunday, March 22nd, 2020, in the midst of the pandemic of the COVID-19 coronavirus. I hope you are all well and taking the proper precautions to safeguard your own health and that of your beloveds, your neighbors, even complete strangers. Last week, I had thought that we would resume our regular programming on the wisdom found in world religions, but we're going to save that series for another time. These days call for another way of being together. Today, I am joined by Director of Faith Development, Angela Warren, and the Chair of the Board of Trustees, David Kofke, as well as our small tech team of Scott Harrigan, Les Buhite, and Chris Berry. We are broadcasting from the back of our sanctuary under the beautiful collaborative weaving that our congregation created through the skill of UU Amherst member Pam Kent. In addition to members and friends of UU Amherst, we are also joined by other Unitarian Universalists in Western New York, and by folks who may be taking this opportunity to experience worship in churches other than their own, and even those who might just be dropping in out of curiosity. All are welcome. For folks who may not have had the chance to visit our physical church space, I'd like to tell you a little bit about this weaving. A few years ago, I began to think about creating something that would represent who we are as a congregation. We are blessed to have a marvelous fiber artist and weaver in our midst, so I approached Pam about a possible project, and she enthusiastically agreed to help create a tapestry. We decided to base the design on the colors of the rainbow, which is the mnemonic device that we use to help our children learn the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. Each month would feature a new color, beginning with red, which you can see at the bottom. Between each color is a narrow band of black and shades of brown to signify our proposed 8th principle, focused on racial equity and justice. Congregants brought in fabric scraps and other materials that could be woven together to illustrate our shared covenant to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. At the end of each month, Pam would gather the materials and weave them on a specially designed frame, or as you can see, on 3 specially designed frames. The weavings were brought in every couple of months so that we could see the progress of our joint project, celebrating our connection to one another. Now, from my usual place at the front of the sanctuary, I always have the best view of this tapestry and of all your beautiful faces. And now, let's prepare ourselves to be together in worship, even when we are separate from one another. You might have a candle to light as we light our chalice, or you might just breathe into this common ritual as the chalice is lit in this shared space. In a moment, when I offer the chalice lighting words, I'll pause at the end of each phrase so that you can participate by repeating the words. So get comfy and take a few calming breaths, and we'll gather together in song. All this joy, all this sorrow, all this promise, all this pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, city of joy, city of sorrow, City of promise, city of pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, world of joy, world of sorrow, world of promise, world of pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, all this joy, all this sorrow, all this promise, all this pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, such is spirit, such is love. Join me as we light our chalice together. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. If we were together in our physical building today, and it being a fourth Sunday, we would be having worship for all ages and stages of life. Worship for all ages and stages is a little less formal and is usually based in stories and songs. This week was the vernal equinox, that moment when the light has grown enough since the darkness of the winter solstice that day and night are equal. It's true. Spring is officially here. This is one of my favorite songs. We're going to just sing verse 3 of number 73 if you happen to have a gray hymnal lying around. Otherwise, the words can be found in the order of service. Winter rains have turned the star wheel, springtime is upon us. Winter rains have turned the star wheel, springtime is upon us. Sharp the smell of loam, bursting in our eyes, the torrents of the tulip. Winter rains have turned the star wheel, springtime is upon us. Greening is the grass, soft upon our brows, the sunlight warm caresses. Winter rains have turned the star wheel, springtime is upon us. Our reading this morning is from one of my very favorite poets, E.E. Cummings, and it is probably my very favorite poem that he's written, entitled, I Thank You, God. I thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue, true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I who have died am alive again today, and this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of love and light and wings, and of the gay, great happening illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any, lifted from the know of all nothing, human merely being doubt, unimaginable you? Now the ears of my ears awake, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. It's becoming increasingly clear to me that we are in this, at least in this setting with live streaming and being physically apart from one another and yet socially and spiritually together, that we are in this for the long haul. And we can either bemoan our fate and cry ourselves a river about the unfairness of this disruption to life as we know it, or we can recognize this moment as a unique opportunity to let our lives take a new direction. Things may return to some semblance of normalcy, whatever that means, but they will never be the same again. Church may not be the same again. But if we want to have a church to come back to, we have to keep the business of the church going, and that means that our giving must continue. David Kofke, chair of the UU Amherst Board of Trustees, is here with some thoughts to share about supporting the work of this beloved community.
We find ourselves suddenly thrust into very difficult times. It's fair to say that our current situation is not something that we saw coming as little as 2 months ago, or perhaps the real scope of this wasn't clear even 2 weeks ago. Arguably, it still isn't. We face an uncertain future, not knowing how severe this pandemic will become or how long it will last. We take heart in seeing that things are seeming to improve in China and South Korea, suggesting that there is indeed an end to this. Appropriately, we turn to science, as practiced by the people who have devoted their lives to the study of biology, medicine, and related specializations to guide us, even as we hope that they arrive soon at a cure or a vaccine. And in the meantime, we count on and deeply appreciate the heroic efforts of doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals to keep us healthy and alive. We also become aware of what is really the essential work, ensuring that we have food, electricity, water, and other necessities while we hunker down in our homes and wait this out. Food and shelter sustain us physically, but as our worries grow and as our physical isolation stretches into weeks and perhaps months, we increasingly realize that we need more than that. We're social animals, and we need each other for emotional, spiritual, and sometimes material support. At times like these, we find that essential work is also the work that makes these connections possible. Fortunately, we have the internet to provide a technical solution to ensure that physical distancing isn't necessarily social distancing. But we also rely on long-standing institutions to create and sustain these bonds. The UU Church of Amherst, of course, is one such institution, and clearly it is one that you count on, now more than ever, to sustain your social connections. Even more, the church is continuing to do its part for the community, as more volunteers are stepping up to keep the Little Free Pantry operating. This effort is being helped further by donations that have been coming in from news sources outside the church. It really is heartening to see that we're playing an important role at this time, and how others have turned to us in expectation that we will continue to do so. Although I first joined UU Amherst for the quest for truth and meaning and for the music, I now get my greatest satisfaction from knowing that I'm contributing to the impact that the church is having on humanity. We, like many churches, are in the middle of our canvas season. This is the time when we solicit our members to commit funds that keep us going through the 2020-2021 church year. So in this narrow respect, it is a particularly bad time for this crisis to have developed. We expect that quite a few of our members are finding their finances to be suddenly quite precarious, either from being newly unemployed or without the investment income that they've come to expect. So we fear that some of our members may have to reduce their pledge. On top of this, several of our usual fundraisers, such as the rummage sale, are not happening this spring, which puts the church's finances for the next year in an even more precarious position. Yet, there is some good news to report. The membership is stepping up to meet the challenges that we're facing. Many have made their pledges, and some have even managed to increase from last year. If you can do this, that would be doubly terrific, because we have a challenge put up for one family promising to increase their pledge to match any increases by other members. I know that I'll be pleased to see that the increase in my pledge will be doubled by an increase from somebody else. But importantly, please know your limits and pledge only what you can afford. As you know, our fifth principle espouses the importance of the democratic process in the operation of the church. One part of this is in deciding how the church spends its funds. Our budget is an open book, so that you know exactly what you're supporting when you make your pledge. We have real expenses that we need to pay if we are to continue to serve one another and our community and to fulfill our mission to foster compassion and justice in the world. I hope you can pledge your support for the coming year. To do this, return the pledge card that you should have received in the mail by now, or go to our website and navigate to the giving section where, among other things, you can record your pledge. Thank you for the faith that you've put in our church to continue to do good for you and your family, for our community, and for the world.
Last Sunday, I encouraged you to create some sacred space at home, an altar that would remind you of your deep connectedness to all of life. If you were too busy to do that this week, with errands to run and shopping to do before more and more of what has been regular life is ground to a halt, I encourage you to create this sacred space today. Let the folks in your family all contribute to doing this so that it is a shared sacred space. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Our Director of Faith Development, Angela Warren, will share a story with us now.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Our story today is called The Starfish Thrower. It's a Blue Promise story. It's inspired by a story by Lauren Isley and adapted for Spirit Play by Reverend Emily Manville Light. Our UU promises are a version of our Unitarian Universalist principles that help children remember them by using the colors of the rainbow. They are: red is for respect all people. O is for offer fair and kind treatment to all. Yellow is for yearn to accept and learn about ourselves and others. Green is for grow by exploring what is true and right in life. Blue is for believe in our ideas and act on them. Indigo is for insist on a peaceful, fair, and free world for all. Violet is for value our home, the earth, that we share with all living things. Today's story lifts up the Blue Promise. We believe in our ideas and act on them. This bell reminds us of that little voice inside us that lets us know when something we do is right or wrong. It tells us that we need to try to do what is right, not just think about it or talk about it. Our story today is about a young person who does just that. Since this is a story about our Blue Promise, believe in our ideas and act on them, we have a mostly blue underlay. You can see it's been decorated to include land and water, with a shoreline in between. Let's see what else we need to get ready. Oh, stars! There's lots and lots of them. And here's a person on the beach. Now we're ready to tell the story. Once upon a time, there was a writer who lived by the ocean. They had a habit of walking along the beach before they began their work each day. One morning, they were walking along the shore, and they saw a human figure in the distance, moving like a dancer. The writer smiled to themselves as they thought of this person as dancing to welcome the day. But as they got closer, they saw that it was a young person, and this person wasn't dancing. They were bending down to the sand, picking up something very gently, and tossing it into the ocean. As they got closer still, the writer called out, "Good morning. What are you doing?" The young person looked up and replied, "Throwing starfish into the ocean." "But why?" "The sun is up and the tide is going out. If I don't return them to the sea, these starfish will die." "But don't you realize that there are miles and miles of beach and starfish all along it? You can't possibly make a difference." The young person listened politely, then bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the ocean. It made a difference for that one. The writer walked home. Meeting the young person made such an impression on the writer that they wrote down this story to share with others. And now I have shared it with you. In spirit play, after the story is told and acted out with the props from the basket, the children are asked some wondering questions. And Reverend Michelle and I are going to explore some of these together this morning. I wonder which part of the story is most important right now.
I wonder if what's most important is discovering the things that are right in front of us that we can do that might look small and might look like they wouldn't make a big difference, and just do them.
Every small action that we take to help another, all the time and during this critical time, causes a ripple in our community, just like the starfish being thrown back in the ocean. The starfish creates circular patterns, and the more and more, like throwing pebbles in a creek, they start to intersect, and I think it's crucial that we keep doing that at this period.
I'll wonder something.
Okay.
I wonder why the young person started tossing the starfish back into the water.
I wonder what told the young person that that was the right thing to do.
Where's our little bell? I think it might have been that little inner voice that we all hear, and if we are wise and compassionate, we don't only hear it, but we actually listen to it and do something about what it asks us to do or points out to us that needs doing in the world.
Many of us right now are being called to slow down. I know I live on a busy street, and I have noticed the traffic slowing way down. We've heard many stories from around the world about wildlife returning to places that are usually heavily populated with people, and we're seeing an awakening in the world as we are quieting down. The world, I guess, we're part of it,
Yes.
but we're kind of stepping aside and just, we have an opportunity to observe in ways maybe we don't usually take the time to do.
I saw on the news, was it in China, where there's usually this big cloud of pollution? The air is clear for the first time in probably decades. I mean, that's remarkable. That if we just give the planet the space and the opportunity, that things really can sort of rebalance and reset, which feels important to me, having just come through the vernal equinox, that notion of balancing. And maybe our task for the future, our lesson to be able to take from all of this disruption and heartache and things that, you know, are really difficult for folks, maybe we can realize that we are on the other side of the scale with the planet. And so maybe this means our actions can change in such a way that we are able to continue to build that balance and sustain that.
I really firmly believe that we are, and I have a hope that this will teach many of us lessons that we may not have had time to listen to before.
Angela and I both find inspiration and wisdom from Mark Nepo's The Book of Awakening, Having the Life You Want by Being Present to the Life You Have. As you can see, my copy is well worn and has all kinds of place marks, and it kind of is falling apart because I've been using it for several years now. So the entry that I want to share with you for today, because the way this book works is it's a daily book, so I just randomly open to a page, but you can see that each day there's a reflection and then some thought questions or meditation moments. So the entry for today is entitled Sabbath Time, and it begins with a quote by Susan McHenry. Work when there is work to do. Rest when you are tired. One thing done in peace will most likely be better than 10 things done in panic. I am not a hero if I deny rest. I am only tired. That speaks to me. That one thing done in peace will most likely be better than 10 things done in panic. So now I want to share with you what Mark Nepo writes about Sabbath time. So when I'm reading it, the I is Mark Nepo's voice. When I need to be refreshed or renewed, I return to doorways of heart that have opened me before. I walk and stand beside the big willow and wait for its familiar sway to speak to me. I replay that special piece of piano music that made its way into the sore crease of my heart and let things unfold. I make some tea and sit in my favorite chair and carefully pull out my old and tattered E.E. Cummings book and read, I thank you, God, for most this amazing day. I try to open the hours with softness and silence, the two threads that unravel into gratitude, and wait for the miracle to return. This is the renewing atom of Sabbath for me. Friends, the physical distancing that we are being asked to engage in to safeguard our own health and to decrease the risk of the spread of the coronavirus is a type of Sabbath. Let this time of slowing down be a time of renewal, a time to unravel into gratitude and to wait for the miracle to return. We're going to pause for a time of quiet reflection, to hold one another in sacred trust. To ready our spirits for this, I'm hoping to share some music with you, if our tech will allow us to do that. This song is entitled Stronger Together by my friend Hal Walker. And if by
Strong is what we make each other, with the power of a hand in the hand of another. Gathering now, sing it all together. We're building a world of love, and we're giving these mountains to climb. The road is long and the path treacherous. Together we're sounding the cry, searching for the light at the top of the hill. The circle is the way we lift each other, arm in arm, we're bound together. Living from the heart, our love is delivered, and we're held by the hands of God. And we're walking this long trodden road, lifted by the light and the truth of the universe, singing these old songs of hope. Every step we're learning the way. Walking all alone, I can feel the weight on my shoulder. A weary animal, and this road just gets longer. When I'm reaching out a hand, you're proving it over and over. You make me understand that with love we get stronger. Strong is what we make each other, circling now, stronger together. Family, foe, friend, or neighbor, our vision is a world of love. And we're giving these mountains to climb. The road is long and the path treacherous. Together we're sounding a cry, searching for the light at the top of the hill. And we're giving these mountains to climb. The road is long and the path treacherous. Together we're sounding a cry, searching for the light at the top of the hill.
It is our custom when we gather to bring into our circle of inclusion all those who need our love and support. Angela will light a candle for each of these as we bring these folks into our circle of inclusion. Those who are ill, those who are in pain either in body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. May each of us know we are held in a love beyond our understanding. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me to me, come to me. We are deeply connected, often in ways we barely understand. Remembering that connection, even if it is with people you only know in the digital universe, can sustain us. We can find ways to connect. For those who are already connected with the UU Church of Amherst, we will be sorting members and friends into virtual villages, and that work is happening now. The sorting is by geographic proximity and also personal connections, creating virtual villages. So UU Amherst folks, stay tuned. We're going to be rolling out these villages, I hope, in the next week or so. For everyone who is participating in this worship service, be sure to check out the Unitarian Universalist Association website, uua.org, to find the many ways our faith community is reaching out and creating pathways for connection. Everyone is also welcome to visit the UU Church of Amherst website at uuamherst.org to keep up with us as we find ways to deepen connections and to keep our circle wide. There's a movement meditation on our website that you might find helpful to feel grounded and centered. I'd like to teach you a small variation on the movement meditation. The movement meditation on the website is a bit more elaborate and has a lot more movement to it. The one I'm going to teach you this morning has a lot more meditation to it. This can be done seated or standing, and each part is connected to inhaling and exhaling. And so the first thing we do is to just exhale and release the tension, all of the stuff. And we breathe in to our core. And then we exhale up and out, creating a chalice of our bodies. We breathe in to our heart, to our center. We breathe out and we bless the world. We breathe in to our heart and receive blessings. And we exhale and send that energy out. Let's do it again. We breathe into our core. Exhale up and out, creating a chalice of our bodies. We breathe into our hearts. We breathe out, sending blessing to the world. We breathe into our hearts to receive blessing. And we breathe out. That's something that you can come back to throughout the week. Maybe start your day, or if you find yourself with your shoulders suddenly creeping up close to your ears, to at least do the first part where you breathe out and release. You don't need to carry the burden of this all by yourself. As we prepare to close this service, I remind you that although we are meeting in virtual space, it is your actual contributions of financial support that keep us strong and vital, and will make sure that we have a church to come back to when we are able to be together socially, spiritually, and physically. If you're connecting with us in worship and you don't have an ongoing relationship with us, you can contribute to our well-being, and you can find out how to do that at our website, uuamherst.org. In the coming weeks, as more and more of our plans are disrupted with cancellations and difficult decisions about where we will go, if we will go, I invite you to remember that not everything has been canceled. I share with you this same little gem that I shared last week because, frankly, I need to remind myself of this every day. Conversations will not be canceled. Relationships will not be canceled. Love will not be canceled. Songs will not be canceled. Reading will not be canceled. Self-care will not be canceled. Hope will not be canceled. May we lean into the good stuff that remains. Indeed. May we lean into the good stuff that remains. As you go throughout your week, know that you are held in this space that we have created together, that you are held in love, and that you are never alone. We'll now extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Travel light and travel easy, till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. We're going to keep the channel open for a while so that you can have a time of coffee and conversation. You're in charge of the coffee. We'll see you next week. Thank you for being here.
That's it, speaker.
See if we can get the sound level.
Well, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I especially like to say a few words.
About
Your
what?
You tell me about what you like to say a few words.
I don't even know.